All right, I did not season the bottom of these yet, so I'm just going to hit it with a pinch of salt. A couple pinches of salt. I couldn't really get much. And some more of that coarse ground pepper. I like the coarse ground because you really get a bite of pepper in there. All right, we'll check these out. This is looking perfect. So what a braise is a combination cooking method. So it's two separate cooking methods. First thing we did was we seared our chicken, or we are searing our chicken, getting some color on it. But now we're going to add liquid. Once we add the liquid, it's going to simmer. And that's great for pieces of meat, whether it be a piece of chicken or a piece of beef, that really takes a while to cook and is really not tender. This is a way to tenderize it. So I'm going to flip our chicken breasts. Then we're going to add some liquid to that. Oh yeah, that's perfect. You can see that beautiful color. So I'm going to flip it just like that. Beautiful. Now right to this hot pan, I'm going to add chicken stock. And it's going to simmer right away. And so we're essentially braising our chicken breast. This is going to go in the oven just like this. It's going to cook for about 12 minutes or so. It depends on the size of your chicken breast. And our plan is we're going to utilize, oh, this is awesome. We're going to utilize all that liquid as it reduces, and that's going to become our sauce. So we're going to do the same thing here. Add some chicken broth or chicken stock. We're also going to add some red wine. This is very similar to the classical dish coq au vin, which is chicken with wine. Usually it would be made with a rooster, because the rooster would be at the end of its life and it would not be tender at all. And this is a way to make it very flavorful and to make it very tender. All right, that's beautiful. All right, so that's about 3/4 of the way submerged, which is exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to stick this in the oven. I don't have a cover for this. Ideally, we'd cover it, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to flip them over partway through the cooking process. So I'm going to go ahead and get this in the oven, and we'll let these things cook. We'll stir around our chicken cracklings and get our mise en place ready for our chicken marsala. All right, so I'm just finishing up our mise en place here for our chicken marsala. Slicing these mushrooms. This makes me think of the time. It's one place I worked down in Texas. So I worked my restaurant, which was awesome. I'm kind of a pyro. I had a wood-fired grill I had to make every day, build my own fire. But then I'd have to clean up my restaurant, clean up another restaurant, and then I'd have to cut 2 cases of mushrooms before I could go home. So I got pretty good at it. But I have some sliced mushrooms here, some red onion, and some tomato here ready to go for our chicken marsala. If you want to take a peek over here, here's our cracklings right here. And these smell wonderfully. They almost smell like bacon. But they're just about done. I'm going to actually use some of this fat to go ahead and make our chicken marsala. So that's off, just sitting there right now. I'm going to take our flour we used before and all our chicken thighs, which I broke up into relatively small pieces. I'm going to drop these right in here and mix them around. I just want to make sure my pan's hot enough here. You want it relatively hot. Once again, you don't want it to smoke when you add your ingredients, but you do want there to be some good sizzle, because any browning that you get is going to be flavor that develops. So I'm going to go ahead and pour some of this chicken fat right in there. Beautiful. That little piece can come out. And I'm going to go ahead and add our chicken right away to it. You can see a little bit of smoke. That's one thing you have to be careful of when you're using like a chicken fat or a turkey fat or something like that. It has a lower smoke point than oil or butter does. All right, I don't want to use all that because it'll crowd my pan too much. I want to wipe my hands off here though. Now while that's beginning to sear, we're going to get ready for our honey butter jus that's going to go on our pan-seared chicken breast. What I have here is some butter. that's just about melted. I may have actually melted a little more than I wanted to. But to this, I'm going to add some honey. Just going to drizzle it in there. That might be more than some honey. A little less than equal parts honey and butter. Now this, just like this, you put it back, we're going to put this back in the refrigerator so it's solid when we go to use it. But put this on top of some warm cornbread or something like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to take all those reduced juices from our chicken, pull our chicken out, and then blend this in with it. All right, so that's about perfect. I'm going to stick this in the refrigerator. Because like I said, it's really important that it gets solid. If it's liquid when you put it in, you're going to end up with a mess. All right, so let's check this out. All right, good. We've got a little bit of browning here. Now, we want to go ahead and add our onions, because those are going to take the longest to cook. Right to that, like that. And we're going to add our mushrooms as well, but we're going to hold off a little bit on our tomatoes because they're pretty delicate. We don't want those to overcook. Now looking at this, when I put this in here, whoops, there was a little bit too much flour, so our pan's a little dry. I'm going to add a little bit more vegetable oil, just because I don't want it to burn on the bottom. Now this is a pretty quick dish to make. We want to just let everything get nice and brown. Now, it's time to take a peek at what we have going on in the oven. So first of all, we look at our chicken breast right there. Now this, I want to poke at it. We'll shut this to keep some of the heat in there. I'm going to push it. It's almost done actually. And the way you can tell is as it cooks, it will actually get more firm. The more firm something is, the more it's cooked. So that's how you see guys working a grill or something and they push on a steak and they know whether it's done or not. We're not quite done. We need 3 or 4 more minutes. So this can go back in. All right. Oh yeah, look at this. Looking at our nice braised chicken. Now I'm at a point here where I need to add a little bit of chicken broth to this just because it's starting to stick a little on the bottom of the pan. But now, this is looking wonderful. Nice deep purple color. Now if I hold this up, you can actually see how it started, the chicken's kind of started to shrink a little bit. That means it's cooking. That means it's all the proteins that are in there are shrinking up and eventually they're going to break down. Oh, this is wonderful. So we'll get this back in the oven. All right, I'm going to let this cook for 2 or 3 more minutes. Let our chicken get almost done. When we come back, I'm going to hit it with some Marsala wine. We'll finish up both of our dishes in the oven, and we'll get ready to eat some more food. All right, so I just took our chicken out of the oven. You can see how much those juices reduced down. It was about half full when we put it in there. Beautiful color on them. They're done. We want them to actually sit there and rest for a couple minutes. They'll be much more juicy if they get a chance to rest. Now the reason we had to go to break was because I forgot about the Marsala wine, so I had to go get it. But now I've got it. I'm going to go ahead and add it right to our chicken here. And a little bit more than a cup. Now what's going to happen is this is going to reduce, and this is going to end up being the sauce. It's going to mix with all that flour that we put in there on the chicken. That's going to reduce down and become our sauce. Also, another part of our sauce is going to be our tomatoes. So now we can go ahead and add our tomatoes. And we can leave just a little bit at the end for some garnish. I'm going to turn this back up. all the way. And now it's time to finish our sauce for the chicken. So like I said, we're going to make a honey butter jus. So we've got our reduced stock here, and we're going to take our honey and butter, which I stuck in the freezer just to sol it up. Now this is really cool. Actually, it's extremely hot. Don't touch this pan, because remember, this was just in the oven. But now this is solidified a little bit. So I'm going to take and put some of this in here, and I'm going to stir it in. You want to stir it in while it's hot. So your liquid has to be hot, but your butter has to be cold. If your butter's hot, then it would be melty. What you'll end up with is a greasy sauce. So I'm going to add a little bit more. But there it is. This is our finished sauce right here. I'm going to go ahead and taste it. Yeah, that's fantastic. So you don't want to turn this back on the heat. You're going to want to serve it within 5 minutes or so too, because it will start to separate. Just give it a quick stir before you serve it. Come back here and check this. Oh yeah, we're looking great. Beautiful. I'm going to add the rest of our marsala. Then while that finishes cooking and some of that alcohol burns off, I'm going to go ahead and add our cooked pasta right to it. Now, by adding your cooked pasta right to this instead of warming it up, you're not going to add any extra moisture to the pan. If you find it's a little too dry, you can add a little bit of water. There's nothing wrong with adding fresh cooked hot pasta that just came out of the water, but you might want to dry it off because it's going to dilute your sauce. All right. Oh yeah, that's awesome. So now I can turn the heat down on this. We're just about done here. So now I'm going to take this chicken, take one of our pieces of chicken over to our cutting board, and just for presentation, I'm going to slice it on an angle, just like this. Now, one of the things when you're cooking chicken is obviously you want to make sure it's always fully cooked. Once you have some experience, you can get used to doing it by touching, but always make sure it gets cooked to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. That's what you're going for. All right, let me grab a plate. I'm going to slide this whole piece of chicken right on here, like so. We can shingle it just beautifully like that. Make sure that nice piece of chicken skin that we put on there looks nice. Now we'll take our sauce, which we'll just give a quick last little swirl to. Fold up my rag. And I'm just going to pour a little of this right over the top. Let it fall onto the plate. All right, we're going to take a break for a minute. I'm going to throw our chicken marsala in the bowl. I'm going to check on our chicken that's braising in the oven, make sure that's all set. We'll get that plated up and get Arthur up here. Hey Arthur, welcome back.
Hi Matt, how you doing?
Fantastic, thanks for having me again here at Hudson Appliance.
Well, we enjoy it every time you come.
All right, I want to show you what we've got to enjoy today. So right here, this wasn't initially on the menu, but this is actually chicken skin. It's been cooked very low and very slow. Super crunchy with just a little salt on it. We took another part of our chicken, which was the legs. I sauteed some mushrooms and some bacon, and then put those on the plate and put our braised, red wine braised chicken legs on there. Chicken marsala, which is sauteed with some pasta, mushrooms, onions, tomatoes. And this is one of my favorites. This is a pan-seared chicken breast with a honey butter jus.
Ooh.
Why don't you give one of these guys a try?
Sure.
Look for a crunchy one.
Oh, that's delicious.
Not bad for
that
chicken.
That is really good. Mm.
You want to try this marsala?
Oh, sure. Now that's wicked good.